Hi, good morning. Welcome back to Mike Makes It. Today I'm going to reduce the length of this glass linear scale for the lathe I'm currently doing a DRO upgrade on. Now the overall length of this scale is 435. Now I'll take you over to the lathe. Don't really need to do this, but it's going to look better as far as I'm concerned. From this point there to the other end is 425. Now with the linear scale, if I fit it as it is, it's going to overhang a little bit at the back end. Yeah, it's not really going to matter, but as far as I'm concerned, I'd like it flush with the sides of the slide rail. So I'm going to shave off 10 mil. I could manage by putting an alley block on the back here. That was the original plan, but I think what I'm going to do is bite the bullet and hopefully not cost myself £50, because that's what the linear scale costs. And I'm going to shave 10 mil off it, simple as that. I'm going to cut it off this end so I don't lose the label. But of course we've got to open it up, remove the reed head. There's going to be a glass scale actually inside here, mounted on rubber mounts, I'm expecting. There's some wiper strips here which keep the dust out and the dirt, so they may or may not have to be removed. But I look at these things, or this is how I look at things. Somebody's originally put it together, so there's a good chance I can take it apart and put it back together as good as they have. At least that's the plan today. So out with the screwdrivers and Allen keys, and away we go. Let's start stripping this down. Right, well, here we go. The end cap, which is going to stop the head sliding off, is only secured by 4 positive drive screws. So we'll get those out. I've got a little tray I'm going to keep all my bits and pieces in. So hopefully I'm not going to lose anything. I'll say I've not done one of these before. I'm making the assumption the glass scales themselves are mass produced and they don't make them to the actual size of the linear scale they're going to be supplied in. Hence they're cut to size. So with the aid of a Dremel, I reckon I can knock off 10 mil. But we'll see. The worst comes to worst, I'll put it back together and I'll have to make do with the length it is. But yeah, we'll just carry on getting the screws out. Feels like aluminium block, could be steel, doesn't really matter. It's nice chunky weight to it anyhow. I've watched the other side, I've observed this side if you like, so I know which way to put it back round. It should be fairly straightforward though. Just trying to look down the end of that. There's the head, you can just see that moving down. And the rubber wipers. This black thing is a security guide, if you like, for when it's being transported to me, so it didn't rattle and roll in the truck. Basically it stabilizes the head, but I can pull that out now. You can hear a click. There's a spring on this, just keeps it in a fairly stable position when it's moving. And I think you can see the glass scale. Let me just see if I can get a better torch or better light. There you go. You can see the linear scale running down the middle. There's a rubber stopper by the looks of it. There's actually securing it into the aluminium extrusion. So what I'll do, I'm going to slide the head out. We can have a look at that, and I'm probably going to take the rubber strips out, the yellow ones. They should just slide out. Somebody slid them in, I'm going to slide them out, so that's what we'll do now. Just want to get this head out though, but of course I've got to refit it. So I want to make sure I know how it goes back. Luckily, I'm recording it. That's the bit of spring tension. It looks as if it's holding the head over to my side, if you like. A little bear in there. All coming out on the head itself. This is what you're going to have to be careful of. There's a flexi strip there going off to the cable assembly. You don't want to be breaking that. That will spoil a day. Right. Still got a bit of spring tension going on here, which I'm a bit concerned about. I just don't want it flying everywhere. Alright, we're nearly out. There we go. That's that spring I was showing you, or telling you about. Looks like there's a bank of LEDs, probably transmitters and receivers to shine on the glass strip. I'll be very careful that doesn't all go east or south on me. Right, I'm going to put this over to one side and we'll have a look at what's in the extrusion. I just see how easy these are going to pull out. I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, there you go. One thing in transit, I think how it was packed, you can see there's a bit of a cock in the rubber there. I'd rather that being flat. I might put these in some hot water, see if it'll straighten out. Again, I'm probably being overly fussy here. Same with this other strip. There we go. Just pull that out. Likewise here. Got a bit of distortion in the rubber, so I'll warm them up and hopefully that'll flatten out. If we move the camera, see those the green bits of rubber there? That's all that's holding the graticule in, or the linear scale. What I'm going to do, I'm going to have to poke those out carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is they claim this is a 300mm linear scale. Obviously, as I said, it's over that length, but there's two ways of describing the length of this. The overall length from here to the other end, or the actual scale length, which is the length of what the scale will give you, if in the sense of you move left to right, it'll go 0 to 300. Right, that's the label on it. It's a 5 micron, 300mm scale. Basically what that's telling you, the read head is capable of reading at least 300mm left to right. Typically it's about 10% over that. But this is a 300mm scale. The actual overall length is 335. So because it's got the 2 end caps on there. So if you buy on one of these linear scales, be careful how it's described. Sometimes they give you the actual read length. Sometimes they give you the overall length. So just make sure you know what you're ordering before you place the order, otherwise you might be disappointed. I've had supplied exactly what I asked for. It's just physically it's a little bit too big for the lathe. Now I'm not going to be able to order a 285mm scale. So I got the closest I could, thinking I may have to reduce it, which I'm going to do now. If you look in there, those little bits of green rubber, that's what's holding the glass scale in place. It's not glued in, it's just rubber squashed up against it, up the glass scale. You probably can see the glass scale just on the end there. So what I'm going to have to do is poke out those bits of rubber very, very carefully. There's 5 of them in total. Then our scale can pop out. Then I'll cut off the length of the aluminium extrusion that I don't need, so we got the right finish length. Then we need to chop a bit off the glass graticule, which it'll be fun. Hopefully we'll won't have any dramas. Right, I'll poke those green bits out, then we'll come back and I'll show you the scale when it's out of the extrusion. Right, there's the third one I want to take out. There's 5 in total. It's a little bit of rubber gasket, or like O-ring almost, in small sections, about 1 centimetre long. But it is quite packed in there. It's very tough to get out. Now what I'm finding, I'm using a spring hook. I've got an RS number, actually the packet. I'll put it in the description. But what I'm finding, I can just about hook around the top end of it. I don't think that's coming across very well. We're blocking all the light out on the camera. But basically I'm hooking the end of it, getting that up in the air, then grabbing hold with some forceps I got here. So I'm afraid I can't film that very well with the lighting I have, but I'm going to carry on, get all 5 out, and before I pull out the glass scale, well, I'll come back to you on it. Okay, all those bungs are out, and there's the glass scale. Just gently pull that out. And there we go. I'm sure they make it in one continuous length. It's not very clean, I gotta say. There's quite a few marks on there, so before I put that back in, I'm going to give that a really good clean. Fingerprints and everything on it. Not my fingerprints, incidentally. Now, what I'll do, as I say, I'm going to give it a clean, but I need to snip off 10mm from the end, so we'll get the Dremel out for that. But what I'm going to do first is gently put that over to one side, not breaking it. I'm going to remeasure this, make sure I got the length right with the end cap on, get this over to my bandsaw, knock off 10mm, I believe, give it a really good clean up. Then we've got to try to refit the glass scale without breaking it. I'm a little bit worried, but I think we'll probably be okay. Just going to have to come up with a little tool to push that rubber down, because the last thing I want to do is actually scratch the glass or take any of the markings off it, because that's going to spoil my day for sure. So yeah, over to the bandsaw, 10mm off this, and away we go. Alright, there you go, all set up in the bandsaw. Going to take 10mm off the end, nice and simple, so here we go. There you go, all done. Just yeah, nice and easy. I'm using this bandsaw more and more. Find it very useful. I'll put a link in the description. It's made by Axminster, or supplied by them, certainly down on the south coast. I think it was about £400, somewhere like that. But it's, yeah, like I say, I'm using it more and more. Got the tools, use them. So yeah, I'm going to get this extrusion cleaned up. I think they were threaded bolts and not self-tappers, so I'm going to have to put either a 2.5mm or 3mm thread in the end to take those bolts, so we'll go ahead and do that. All I've done with the end, I didn't have a tap, it's some sort of dodgy imperial thread, not metric, so luckily the bolts managed to self-tap into the end, so I haven't got to sort of kind of worry about that. What I do have to worry about though is cutting 10mm off this scale. And as the description says, it's a glass linear scale. It's a strip of glass, probably no more than 2mm thick, that I've got to snip a piece off. Now what I'm going to use, I've got a battery powered Dremel A220. Really good tool. And I'm going to use some of these cut-off wheels. I'm not sure if they're carbide based. I wouldn't like to say, but very good, very brittle. So you try deflecting this and it'll leave home. It just snaps straight off. So freehand, I'm just going to snick 10mm off the end of there. So hopefully we'll be good. Well, I think that more broke off than got cut, but it's pretty much what I need. There's a little tiny bit just on the end which I probably could leave, but just for neatness. There we go. It's as clean an edge as it was original, so that's fine. There is a little bit of play either end anyhow. This will sit in the middle, equidistant of the extrusion. So that'll be good. So what I want to do now, get this glass scale onto a nice clean surface and get rid of some of the horrible fingerprints on it before we refit it. So that's what we'll do. Just some box standard isopropyl alcohol IPA. Get it from the chemist, online, etc. So just going to clean one side and flip them over and do the other side. The other side looks if that's what's got the markings on. This side's not etched, if you like. I'm just hoping all the markings don't come off with the IPA, but no, we're looking good. So I'm going to just carry on cleaning this, let it dry thoroughly, and make sure the extrusion is nice and clean as well. And it's a matter of putting it back together. So I'll do that. Once I start pushing the bungs in, once I've got a couple in, you can come back, have a look, see how I do it. So I'd rather find a way of doing it than show you rather than experiment. So that's what I'm going to do now. Right, well, that's uneventful. That was great. The green little bit of O-ring is there holding the glass into place. I've got 4 more to go. The way I found, there's my mug warmer. No tea at the moment, so I put them on there to warm them up a little bit, just to soften them a tad. And they pushed in, well, that one's pushed into place very well, so I'm hoping the others will go as smoothly. So that's what I should be doing. I'll do that off camera because I'm going to get in the way of the shots. But basically, yeah, I'll dropping them down by the side of the glass, spaced evenly along there. There's 5 to fit. Push them back in, and I'll show you when it's done. Right, I've refitted the dust strip. Couldn't get the distortion out. I did try hot water, but that didn't help, so I'm stuck with that. Here's the read head. Looks like 4 photodiodes, LEDs, some semiconductor magic going on there. Looks if they shine through the graticule, or the linear scale, and there's a little mirror there. So there's some shining and reflection going on. Not the best technical description there, but just where the end of the tweezer is, that's where the glass scale is, or would be when it's assembled. So we'll put that back together now and see if it still works. Some bearings on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just to hold the whole head in place as it's moving up and down the linear scale. So yeah, let's poke that back in and see if it still works. Right, there you go, all back together. A little bit of a struggle to put the reed head back in the assembly here. There's quite a strong spring that forces the reed head assembly against a glass graticule or the glass scale. So you do need to hold it with some force to one side as you're sliding it in. So do be careful with that. Also on the reed head, those 4 bearings that I showed you, they actually roll on the scale itself, not on the aluminium. So the bearings are pushing onto the glass scale. So that's said and done, it's all back together. I've got the shipping bit of plastic in here, you can just about see it. That'll hold the head the right distance away from the scale, which is probably what I want to do here. So we'll power it up, genuinely the first time, so we'd be disappointed together perhaps if it doesn't work. Just give it a second. I'm not sure which one I've plugged it into, we'll see. Oh, there you go, in the X. So it seems to work, it's alive. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So yeah, a result. Just zero that out. There's no real practical test now except for the fact that I haven't bodged the scale up. So that's good. The overall distance now is 10 mil shorter. I will take it over the lathe and I'll show you. Right, there's the finished linear scale, just sitting on the cross slide. The whole objective today was to trim 10 mil off the scale, so it was the same length as a cross slide, and I think you can see we've done that. Level with the front, at the back, nice and level. So it was only 10 mil, but if job's worth doing and all that. But yeah, it just goes to show if you've got any size linear scale, you can shrink it down a little bit. You got to be a little bit careful because obviously there's a glass scale running all the way through it. But I can do it, you can do it. You shouldn't have a problem. So you can customize any scale you like. Anyhow, I hope you found that useful. Please watch the other video where I actually install a DRO on the lathe here. And thumbs up would be great.